let's answer the question that you've all been asking. If I start marketing, how long is it before I'm a gazillionaire? Or how long is it before people start calling my business? That's the topic of today.
The Mammoth Plumber Podcast with Tyler Williams on the mic. He's dropping marketing gold, making your business spike.
Okay, I get asked a lot of, hey, how long before we see results? How long before this makes a difference for our company? And ultimately, you really got to think about the fact that when they say makes a difference, what they're talking about is revenue. They're talking about money coming back to them. And that's important. You need to know that. As far as what's making a difference, it makes a difference immediately, but not in ways that you can actually quantify until later. And this is sort of like marketing doublespeak, some might call it. But what I want to do is really go over, well, you've got different forms of marketing, you've got different forms of business and different factors at play. So let's do our best on figuring out why things take some time here and there and what doesn't take as much time and the pros and cons of all of it. So when you're doing marketing, you have usually two sides. You've got your lead generation, which is like, hey, I want to go and bid, essentially. I want to pay for this person, their contact info. And then you've got brand. And brand is like, I want to pay to have people see me before they ever need me. And in my opinion, and you've probably heard me say this before, when it comes to brand, that has been lost in favor of lead gen, particularly in the home services space. And we're just now seeing this trend on getting back to brand after watching the costs of customer acquisition just skyrocket over the past, 3 to 5 years. So the lead generation, this is where you can really feel money in, money out. This is where it's like search ads, Yelp, Thumbtack, local service ads, which is just another form of search ad, are all part of these. These are the things where you say, all right, go out, spend my money, get in front of people click on it and they contact you. Now, how good that contact is varies. How many you get varies. The cost of which varies, but it's very immediate. Right? Like you put money in and money comes out to some degree, or actions come out on the back end because you're paying either per click, which is, usually how search engine works, or you're paying per lead, which is how like LSA, Yelp, Thumbtack, and those Home Advisor, Angie's, that's how all that works. And you can build a business on the backs of those, but it varies on success. Like I just had a consult today with a guy who said, hey, Yelp has been really good for us, but historically, that is not what I hear. Historically, what I end up hearing is the Yelp customers are trash. And it speaks to how, like, if you have a marketer coming in and just like giving you constant absolutes, take that with a huge grain of salt. It's not something I do because I run into situations like this. I can't say whether or not it's going to work 100% for anybody. So anyway, like you end up getting these leads, and for some companies they work great and for some companies they don't. And that's just kind of business in general. We're all going to find like our zones. But lead gen is very much like, cool. It happens almost the next day. And there's absolutely there are elements for you to be thinking about. LSA isn't necessarily next day because you have trust factors built into the system. Search can be next day, but it takes forever to really make sure you're getting the good leads. And even then, anytime you run ads, you're going to get both good and bad leads. Yelp and Thumbtack, I don't deal with, so I'm not sure how fast those are. But what I tell people is if you're going to run these, it's very easy to tell how much you're making off of them. Because you can put in a call tracking number, you can put them onto a specific landing page, and you can say, all these people came from this source, and we want to know whether or not that's panning out to good ROI on the back end, and so let's see how much money we make off them. Now, you're going to get some good customers out of there, you're going to get some bad customers out of it, but that's what it is. Fast. Brand is different. And we have like services, and lots of agencies have services that kind of hit both sides of the coin. Brand is a slow roll. And when you really think about it, brand is what most companies have built their back on for ages. Brand is what I'm doing right now, right? I'm putting out a video. Some of you are going to see it. Some of you are going to watch or listen to it, right? And some of you are just going to see the thumbnail. Some of you are just going to see it in the email that I send it out in. Some of you are just going to interface with it maybe 5 years after I actually post this thing, right? And that's the kind of the thing is it's very ephemeral. Like, where's the leads? Well, with brand, it doesn't work like that, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to change awareness, but moreover psychology of your audience. And the cool thing about brand is nobody can strip it away from you. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But with brand, what you're really trying to do is say, hey, look at me. Here's some good info. Here's a funny joke. Here's something you might need to know. Here's elements of the world that you exist in that I happen to be an expert in. Why don't you let me serve you? Right? That's what brand is. And the way we do that is we do that by being funny on the internet, helpful on the internet, and people have a tendency to react to it. But it doesn't happen at first. And I can tell you, over the past 2-3 years of posting things on the internet, it wasn't until I got consistent, and it wasn't until I really started hammering it, that leads just started coming out of it. And it's not even that I can track where they came from. I can't say like, oh, that guy came out of YouTube, that guy came out of Facebook, that guy came out of TikTok. They've usually seen me in multiple places. So which one was the trigger? Well, none of them, because they all were, right? So you kind of have to, and I hate to say this because I don't like how hard it is to really do it, but you kind of got to have faith in the system. You got to have faith in the actions that you take forward. And then what ends up happening is the entire community that you're advertising to hits a tipping point. When they hit that tipping point, suddenly they become the person that you become the person that they're going to call when they need you. And this, I know I talked about my own business, but this also applies to plumbers. And this is where we've seen a lot of traction, is if you are running really high quality brand, people know, like, and trust you because you showed up when nobody else was. And what that means is that you had to maintain interest over that period of time, in which all you're trying to do is educate people. Do you have a plumbing issue? I'm right here. Come on over, right? That's the brand awareness. Now, the reason why a lot of people have neglected this side of their advertising, now as things are changing, they're paying the price of that. What ends up happening is everybody goes over to lead gen, which means that lead gen becomes very expensive because it's a bidding model. I search for a plumber, I get a list of plumbers. You may be one of them out of 20. That's a lot for people to sift through. And that means all those 20 other plumbers are willing to pay a price. Because of that, the price goes up, until boom, maybe they pick you. And it might cost you $60 a click. It might cost you $10 a click, but it isn't going to cost you $2. And then there's no guarantee that I'm even going to call you on the other side of that. So it takes a lot of clicks and a lot of money to move the lead gen. And there's a lot of nuance behind that. By the way, I do not recommend anybody runs Google Ads without going through some major classes on it first, because it's super complex. LSA is different. LSA, I think most companies can handle themselves. But for PPC, very, very complex. Now, on the brand awareness side, because nobody has done it for so long, and just now companies are starting to go like, well, I guess we can't afford this, so this is all we can do. People are starting to spend money there again. We're starting to see overall, like, the prices, which are measured by 1,000 views, so CPMs, they're starting to go up a little bit for the target market that we're going after, but it's like nothing. Honestly, for every $1,000 that you have, you can reach 5,000 to 10,000 people, and if it's your primary target demographic, that's not insignificant. 5,000 to 10,000 people, 15 to 30 times a month. That's every other day or once a day. That's a lot of influence that you can buy, because you can say, look at me. Look how good my reviews are. Look at me. Look how funny I am. Look at me. I answer the phone. Look at me. I'm a clean plumber. Look at me. I am trustworthy. And over time, that all coalesces and builds this psychological framework of how people view your company. And I guess when you really think about it, what does that mean? That means that you're controlling the narrative of the community. And then if you dovetail, and this is where I will die on this hill, if you start doing community events, if you start being physical, if you say, hey, if we put a yard sign in your yard, would you mind, like, we'll give you a little bit off, right? And so other neighbors see it in the area. Your vans are wrapped and loud and people just can't ignore you. That's how you get customers. If you can be ignored in a market, you've got problems. So that's what all that does. Now, how long does it take? Back to our core question, right? How long does it take for brand awareness to really kick off, really make you feel it? It's really hard to say, and this is the bummer, because I would love to say this long, but how much competition do you have? How loud is your brand? How much have you been saying? How well have you been saying it? Are you saying expert plumber in my city, or are you saying, hey, we're the best plumbers you've ever called and you're going to love us for years, right? Those are two very different ways of saying, call me when you need me, right? How consistent were you? All that comes into it. But the competition is really one of the bigger ones, because the competition side means that other people are in the market. And so they're kind of taking the air out of the room, and you're buying a chunk of that air. And the longer you're in there, the more you become known. So, and I'm a big fan of the best known plumber wins the call, to be perfectly frank. People will try you before they try anybody else, which is why it's important to answer your phone. Now I'm going to actually answer the question. I think that if you're consistent, if you show up once a day to a market of 5,000 to 10,000 people, you're probably looking at 3 to 6 months for the actual psychological profile of their reference to your company in the head changes. And that's why you have to be consistent. So as you're planning your marketing, what I suggest you do is plan it for consistency when it comes to your budgets. A lot of people are like, well, just throw a bunch of money at it. Well, the problem with that is you're spiking up interest, and then you're disappearing for some people for a long period of time. Don't do that. It's different. You could do that on lead gen if you have to, but don't do it on brand. On brand, slow, steady, consistency beats spikes randomly throughout the year all the time, because then you're there delighting them, entertaining them, and winning their business. And if you want ideas of companies that do this, think of other large service-based companies that are good things for you to model. One of those is insurance. Geico. Geico has done this for ages. The Gecko, Caveman, I just saved 15% on my car insurance with a 15-minute phone call. I can recite these because Geico put that out there consistently enough into my market, and you don't have to compete on such a broad market as they. So, and on top of that, you don't have to put it in front of me. You have to put it in front of, essentially, my wife. And then you win. So these are the things that I think that you need to be thinking about. Give it some time, but make sure you're consistent. And then on top of that, make sure your message actually lands, right? You don't want to be there with things that your demographic doesn't care about. Don't show the woman of the house a torn up wall. Show her a hot bath. Show her a text message saying we're on our way, right? The things that she cares about are going to be communication, care, comfort. It's not necessarily going to be how well that you actually fix the problem or how you turn the wrench. She doesn't care about that. So, and then humor will help you win, I promise you. So anyway, I hope this goes over all of this pretty well for you. If you want to find out more about me, I'm Tyler Williams. I didn't introduce myself. I run a marketing agency for plumbers. You can find out more about that at tylerwilliams.net or mammothforplumbers.com. So you have a good one and be consistent. It'll help you.
Want to grow your business? Here's the plan. Go to tylerwilliams.net and be the top in the land. Now let me tell you the epic tale of how Tyler Williams became the marketing man. His story begins when he was just a year-old lad. His mother needed a plumber, but their ads were so bad. The house flooded and sank, and young Tyler was mad. Swallowed by the earth, into the abyss they fell. He blamed the bad marketing that led them to this hell. At 1 year old, he vowed to the stars above he'd harness marketing power and give plumbers some love. He's Tyler Williams, the marketing baby. From tragedy he rose to bring plumbers joy. With a vow to the stars and a plan in his hand, he's the one who'll save them, the marketing baby. 10 years later, he set out on a quest to find ancient secrets that would make him the best. He tamed Mark the Mammoth and rode the wilderness fast, fighting bland campaigns, leaving them in the past. In a glowing cave with light so bright, he found a dead wizard clutching tablets of might. For 30 long years, he studied those stones, deciphering marketing secrets that shook him to his bones. He's Tyler Williams, the marketing boy, imbued with power, turning pain into joy. With fire in his eyes and stone-carved campaigns, he brings plumbers the truth to ease their pains. 30 years later, he emerged from the cave, riding Mark the Mammoth, a legend so brave. Back to Alaska with tablets in tow, he chiseled new ads ready to make them glow. His campaigns were epic, like discovering fire. Plumbers would soar, lifted ever higher. He hit the launch button, the world wasn't prepared. Neighborhoods flooded with jokes as Tyler declared. After 40 long years of learning marketing power, the baby became a boy, the boy became a man, and now Tyler Williams finally became the fabled marketing man. He's Tyler Williams, the marketing man, bringing plumbers out of the Stone Age as fast as he can. With jokes and memes, he blankets the land. Soccer moms swoon, it's all part of the plan. Now Tyler roams the world with boldness and might, crafting campaigns that set everything right. He's bald, bearded, with glasses in place, laughs at his jokes, but they're never out of place. With a smile and a wink, he launches the show. His ads are dumb, but they make plumbers grow. He's the marketing man, with campaigns so grand, bringing plumbers out of the Stone Age as he planned. So when you see Tyler, remember his quest. He's the marketing man who's simply the best. Bald and bold, with a mission so grand. He's Tyler Williams, the marketing man.